Men of Reddit, what was the best thing a woman has ever said to you?
I love you too, my mom. Epic answer.
You're an amazing father, and I know you'll continue to be one. My wife just before cancer claimed her life. One woman once told me that I looked cute with my beard. I still look at that message from time to time whenever I'm feeling down. It's kinda sad how little compliments men get. I got a beard and what bugs me is I rarely get compliments on it. But when I shave everyone mentions how much better the beard looked. I would be blessed to marry you. Started to learn to love myself after that and was able to shed the weight of an old trauma too. We are best friends with a marriage pact. I don't think I'll ever get tired of being called beautiful, be it in English, Spanish, or French. It may be such a small thing, but every time one of my friends says it to me, my heart just melts. I'm very thankful to have met them. A girl in my class said you're a sweet, adorable, and a nice person. Also my best friend's mom, we weren't that close back then, said that I'm a good man and she trusts me with her daughter's life. She said that if she had a son, she would have wanted him to be like me. What her mom told me has had an effect on me and I actually teared up a little on hearing it. My mom never said she was proud of me. I did not give birth you and we might not match on a DNA test, but you are my son no matter what anybody says, said by my best friend's mom. She has been like a mother to me all my life, taking care of me while my mother's alcoholism escalated over the years. I love her by all my heart, and when she said it I just started crying. I never doubted her caring, but having the verbal confirmation was just so touching. I trust you. Honestly, this is so underrated. It sounds so simple, but to actually have somebody put their trust in you is an absolute honor. I graduated college 10 years ago. I still think about the time someone told me 8 a.m. classes suck, less with me there. It's been something over 35 years since a woman said my eyes reminded her of Fernando Lamas. Still holding on to that one. When my wife was dying of cancer, she had one of those bitter evenings where she lashed out at how unfair for her to be fighting for her life at age 39. She was lashing out at how unfair for her children to grow up without her and for her to miss seeing the adults they would become. She shared how every single moment of every day was full of struggle, pain, and fatigue, and she was bitter and angry about it. I told her something I'd felt ever since she got sick, that I wished cancer took me instead. She looked at me through her bitterness and pain and said, I would never want this pain to happen to you. That was the most selfless, loving thing I've ever heard, and it helped me so much as I dealt with survivor's guilt after she died. My girlfriend in college once gave a Valentine's Day card. In it, it said, I'm glad I met you. Seems a bit unromantic, maybe, but this girl was always awkward at expressing herself, was too. A lot of people say I love you, and don't mean it. Sometimes they think they mean it. But when she wrote I'm glad I met you, I knew she meant it. Like, she really meant it. She was all nervous to give me the card too. I thought it was very sweet, and I couldn't get the card out of my head for weeks. What an absolutely lovely thing to say. Of all the endless string of words people have put together in the endless attempt to convey deep meaningful feelings, 5 words written on a card managed to say them all. An affirmation that her life was made more joyful by having you in it. Amazing how something so simple can convey such wonderful meaning. Simply delightful. A friend told me she preferred how I looked bald rather than when I had a ton of hair, and that I was a great looking bald guy. This meant so much as I am bald due to alopecia areata and legit used to have thick flowing locks, so it was a hard process choosing to shave my head that first time. Random girl from work told me I looked good and asked me what was doing to lose weight. I had never ever gotten a compliment like that before, and it felt good. Made me more motivated to keep on track. My wife and I have been together 16 years, married for 9. Father-in-law flew in from out of state to visit and rented a minivan for us all to go do things while he was in town. We were on the road and I texted my wife something about his driving and she texted back, I feel like at this point I just hate anyone driving who isn't you. I don't know why that was so impactful, but something about that statement really validated my existence. A girl complimented my outfit about 6 years ago and still remember it vividly. Wow, like most men I could get through 20 to 30 years on a compliment like that. Give a man a shirt and he'll wear it for a year. Tell a man he looks good in a shirt, and he'll wear it for the rest of his life. A girl complimented my outfit about 6 years ago and I still remember it vividly. My sister's cute friend said I looked handsome at my sister's wedding. Been riding that high for almost 6 years now. A woman with sound smell synesthesia once told me my voice smelled like sandalwood. Oddly enough, it was an apology from an ex's former best friends. Long story short, my ex was a legit psychopath. She uses people and throws them away on a whim, and was a supposedly recovering heroin addict. 1. Like an idiot, ignored all the red flags. She went out of her way to try destroy my life, going as far as court. Fortunately the judge saw through her. After she tried to ruin me, she apparently tried to ruin her friends as well. 2 of those friends reached out to me after to apologize for ever believing a word she said. It helped me cope with what happened and the PTSD that resulted from it all, knowing that they understood what she did to me and were sorry for ever having been a part of it. Not exactly the most feel-good story, I know, but I'd be in a much, much worse state right now if they hadn't gotten in touch to reassure me that I wasn't in the wrong. I was in Nashville for a work conference and was walking back to the hotel one evening. A couple of women were sitting on some steps across the street from me when one of them yelled, "Hey white boy." I stopped and turned towards them. Then she yelled again, "You fine as fuck." I thanked them, then immediately called my wife to tell her I'm officially fine as F. I recently got out of treatment and got really close with the women there. When I was getting ready to leave they went on and on for minutes about how kind, loving, genuine, etc. I was. It brought me to tears. After years of addiction and hating myself, that hit me so hard. "I like your glasses." Random girl who walked past me, she didn't even pause when she spoke. On March 15, 2019. A girl once told me I'll always dress nice, and I also remember the exact date, March 10, 2020. It's both fascinating and sad at the same time. Not a woman, but a little girl. I'm a guy with long hair, and she told me that I look like a princess. Her parents were mortified, but I took it as the little girl giving me the highest compliment that she could think of. "You go, princess." A friend when I was younger gave me a birthday card that said something like, "I'm glad you exist." It was such a simple thing, but I guess no one had ever really said that to me before. It meant the world for some reason. Naturally I fell head over heels in love with her shortly afterwards, but that's a different story. Not directly to me, but in my presence. Our daughter was only about 6 months old at the time, and some friends asked my wife how parenthood had been, and she said, "I'm a little surprised at how great a dad Russian blah has been." Not that she thought I was bad, but that I was even better than she expected. I don't know if anyone said something nicer about me. Got complimented on how I smelled by a few girls and have never forgotten it. Honestly dude, I never liked cologne or anything like that, but I got some for a birthday gift once and decided to try it for a date. First thing she said was how good I smelled and I never forgot it. Now smelling good is like my favorite thing out. Once after I admitted that I often find myself physically repulsive and have a hard time believing that I could be accepted, a female friend of mine who generally doesn't like physical contact with others sat on my lap and hugged me to prove me wrong and told me that I'm good enough. Fam, that has kept me going for years. When I was 12, a cute Italian girl told me I had beautiful eyes and I near melted from awkwardness. When I was this age my grandpa took me into a funeral parlor of a friend. The basement is where the old men drank and it was almost a secret pub. The bartender was a nice old lady who just smiled from ear to ear at all times in a comforting way when people talked. Was 12 as well, and she mentioned that my cheek dimples would drive women wild when we get older. Still waiting, but I like my dimples. What? What are you doing? Yes, I'll marry you. After a surprise proposal to my now fiancé that she had absolutely no idea was coming. She told me when we part she's already looking forward to seeing me again. God, I love that girl. Not a woman but my 6-year-old niece looked at me intently and said, "Tio, why are you so handsome?" That's probably the only compliment I'll ever need from another girl for as long as I live. Does that count? Recently I visited a buddy from elementary school. I went down to celebrate his 30th and him buying his first home to raise his new family in. When I got to meet his wife, she told me she heard all about me and I was the only person buddy was talking about for the past week. Maybe not the best thing I got, but it really struck a chord in me that I have a pretty awesome friend. When I clean up and get dressed for my office job, just casual/business casual, no tie or slacks anymore, my wife used to compliment me. She's a sucker for men that are well dressed. Just a simple, "You look really nice." I usually just shrug it off and don't pay too much attention to it. I've certainly not let her compliments dwell in my head. I don't feel much from it. Realizing now that maybe I'm just taking her for granted in this specific way. She doesn't compliment me as much these days, and probably doesn't help that I'm not trying as hard. Why get new clothes during a pandemic? I think I need to up my game now, acknowledge her compliments better, and maybe just maybe, I'll feel something amongst the backdrop of life's busyness. Thanks for the reminder. I was getting rejected from a bunch of psychology doctoral programs, and I was at an all-time personal low. My wife, who pushed me to pursue school and stop breaking my body in factory jobs, said something that I'm ashamed to say I don't remember verbatim. But to paraphrase, if all you ever do is fail, I'm proud of you for trying. I never did get into a program. I abandoned psychology and started learning programming, and now I'm a software engineer. But if she hadn't supported me through those times, I'd probably be destroying what's left of me in some warehouse. I would never have thought enough of myself to reach higher without her support. 3 things. I've been meaning to tell you that you're an amazing father. My wife at a concert on a rare night out together. I'm gonna F you on this couch. My wife the first time we made out. If you don't get along with someone, then they must be a seriously shitty person because you get along with like everyone. My best friend's wife informing me that she trusts my judgment and opinion of people's character. The wife was sick recently. I spent the morning cleaning the house and entertaining the kid. She looked at me as told me that I was a good husband and a good father. It felt so validating. A woman telling you she loves you often is great. I love you often. Not always, but often. You have beautiful eyes. Random Colombian tourist grandma at my work. My future wife the night we met, told me I had kind eyes. Melted me. I have depression and Asperger's and I had a tough time with it earlier this year. My girlfriend knows about this, and when she saw that I was down, she sat next to me, held my hand and said, "I will always be here for you. I love you. Please remember that." It was very comforting. My late fiancé was sitting in the car at the end of the sidewalk waiting for me. I walked down the sidewalk and got in the driver's seat and she says, "Damn, that's all mine." I'll never forget it and how she looked at me. "I love you, Susie. Forever, babe." This is not okay. Literally. Made me dig deeper and realize I was AS partner. Ultimately made me a better person, through therapy. I just needed somebody to tell me that it wasn't okay. That was the trigger. Before we parted ways, my ex wrote me 2 really long paragraphs about our journey and told me how glad she was that I was her first everything, and even though she has some regrets about other things that happened in her life, told me how she'll never regret meeting me and it was one of the best things that ever happened to her. She writing 2 big long paragraphs expressing her feelings. Came as a shock to me because she was the type of person who had a hard time expressing how she felt. To date, it is one of the best things any woman had ever said to me. Thank you, I'm proud of you, I appreciate your efforts, I feel loved, cared for and understood. Sexy voice, babe, a note inside a box of wings I had ordered from her over the phone. It included her phone number. I was a coward and did not call. My wife once breathlessly told me that I had missed my calling as a traveling Victorian orgasm doctor, and that's easily the best compliment I've ever gotten. Did Victorian orgasm doctors exist? Absolutely, look it up. When they referred to women becoming hysterical unless certain pressures were relieved, this is what they were talking about. Wealthy women would have a personal doctor that traveled with them. They invented tools to help them in their profession that are basically crank-operated clockwork vibrators. While curled up in a ball in my arms, I want nothing more in this life, except to be your wife and be held like this all the time. You are so loving and wonderful. I just want to be Mrs. Barutang Clan. Maybe it's best you take her name instead. Nothing tops the I love you from that one girl. I miss her, too, man. All sorts of things could be listed, said by romantic partners, but the one thing immediately sprung to mind was back in college. I was walking down the street to work when a car full of girls drove past. As they did, some of the girls stuck their heads out of the windows and shouted to me, "You're hot." I've never been catcalled before or since, but I was walking on cloud nine for the rest of the day. You go down like a lesbian. From what I understand, that's quite an achievement. After my first ever BJ, she swallowed it and whispered, "You taste good," in my ear. I presumed this is how all future BJs would end. I feel she set me up for disappointment. Kind of different, but one time, after a night of drinking, I got an early morning blowjob. After, she says, breakfast. It was hot. A chick at a stoplight once rolled down her window to tell me I was super duper double cheeseburger hot, and I've been proud of that ever since. A crush once asked to wear my hoodie. It's been 20 years and it's still somewhere in my closet, never been washed. The hoodie, not her corpse. "You are a real man," said by my back then girlfriend when I stood in front of her, naked, after making out on the couch, reaching my hand out to her to take her upstairs. "That was a good day. You just unlocked a memory of when I was dressed up on a sidewalk downtown." This woman, maybe 36-ish, looks over to her friend and gestures to me. This is what a man should look like. I was like that bashful Looney Tune vulture inside HA. I was sleeping in bed with my girlfriend. I'm the kind of guy that thinks consent is what makes the sex hot, so I'm kind of just dancing around what's on her mind now that we're alone. After 10 minutes of teasing, I ask her, "So what do you want me to do? Just F me already." Those words ring out in my head sometimes. Wasn't a great relationship, but certainly an ego-boosting moment. For the first time in my life, a woman bought me flowers last year, and I had absolutely no idea how to deal with the way it felt. I'm in my 30s. It was great, and showed how rare things like this are. So it was nonverbal, and technically not what you asked, but was amazing, so felt worth sharing. For most men, the first time someone buys them flowers is at their funeral. It's not that small. Keep doing that. For the record, that was rubbing her shoulders after a long swim workout. But that statement, and the relationship that developed after, taught me that girls do like the same physical things as me, and it's okay for me to want them too. She did say keep doing that in other circumstances too, and I liked it just as much, but opening the door because she had sore shoulders was priceless.